Welcome, everyone, to the Great Womb Awakening 3, where women across the globe are harvesting the wisdom of their womb and the power of their shamanic female bodies to create global change. I'm your host, Kathy Forrest, founder of Celestial Forest Institute, and I am so excited to be here with my dear friend, Aletheia Sophia. Welcome, Althea.
Hello, Kathy. Hello.
You look
Oh, I think
beautiful.
that was a bit of a song.
Yes, I think it was. Alethea is a writer, a mythologist, somatic movement minister, and a whisperer of sacred wisdom. Her highly acclaimed books, courses, transmissions, and workshops focus on the development of the mystical imagination and on the relevance of myths, fairy tales, and folk traditions to the personal, cultural, and environmental problems we face today. Her way of ministering these myths is through movement, bringing them alive inside of all of us to be personally informed. She has an intense relationship with the land, especially the French Pyrenees, Egypt, and Ireland. All her work, writing, transmitting, somatic movement, storytelling, and teaching springs from an irresistible intimacy with the land, which is rooted in as much of the myths and stories of place as it is in the detailed knowledge of the physical and historical environment. She is currently working on Mary Magdalene's audio guide to the south of France, an evocative and expressive partnering with the mythic imagination and the land itself. Alethea leads workshops and trainings in sacred body awakening throughout Europe and Northern America. Now, this is the exciting part. Now she is mostly at home with her husband and mother in the mountains, where they have taken on an almighty project, the restoration of an old Catholic summer house for children into the White Rose Mystery School, complete with chapel, bed, and breakfast, vegan cafe, apothecary of the body rituals, and an animal sanctuary. Oh my goodness, that is a lot, but the place is huge. They produce a large proportion of their food, keeping goats, sheep, pigs, and an assortment of poultry in a large and thriving permaculture garden food forest. That long, hard work, which requires her to be outside in all weathers, tending to other living things as well as caves and mountains, has blessed her with a deep and nourishing sense of connectedness to the spirit of place that she feels drawn to share with others. Over time, she's developed an oral message that stirs the remembrance of a continuous lineage with the feminine principle that throughout the centuries has preserved its spiritual dignity without the need for permission or recognition from any other source. She is here to deepen your spiritual journey and to offer you a safe place whilst doing so. Suppose you feel a calling toward a tradition strongly rooted in the presence of Mary Magdalene, Gnostic Sophia, and Christ's early teachings. In that case, you will find a palpable vein of truth surrounding her. And as I'm reading this, I have goosebumps all over my body. It's like, yes, that is definitely true about you and I still call you by your old name.
That's
Alethea.
really okay. A lot of people do.
So I love the topic. And, this is a topic that I know you have spoken and written books about, sacred womb awakening, which is really and truly what we're talking about today. So you have several topics that you wanted to speak into today. And the first one was conscious conception. Tell us what you mean by that and what you want us to know about that.
Well, I think I would like to begin by framing where I am in this moment.
I would
So
love that.
last night, probably like many of us,
Mhm.
we tuned into Plandemic 3, The Great Awakening,
Mhm.
directed by Mickey Willis.
Mhm.
So I'm in the wrecking ball aftermath of that level of documentary.
Wow.
Just the wrecking ball has, and I had to do a transmission about 30 minutes after watching the documentary,
Sure.
and I
Sure.
had to lead some women. We got some Dutch women at the house at the moment this
Mhm.
morning in sacred movement. And I found myself speaking from a slightly different place,
Mhm.
but with more presence, perhaps more power, more content.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when I now say sacred womb awakening, perhaps back in the day, I would have been coming from a place that understood that to be, part of the feminine journey,
Mhm.
part of reclaiming our womanly body, freeing it from the shackles of guilt, shame, and awkwardness. And that it was, a relative pleasant bead on the necklace called our sacred awakening. Now I feel slightly different. I see this now as the almighty, not step and stage, but the almighty chapter of our existence. And that it's not a luxurious spiritual step or stage on the path, but is now an urgent cry. I want to say, cry to arms is the old-fashioned way of saying it, but maybe cry to womb. It's a cry to womb, because in this documentary, and as you say, let the sacred feminine speak. I'm just going to speak it as I hear it. On this documentary I saw last night, and the culprits bringing through the agenda, they were all men. There
Mhm.
you go. There's the truth
Yep.
right there. Everyone was in a suit. Everyone was a man. I think I saw about one or two women. So I'm kind of in that position where I am crying out. Well, I'm not yet because I'm slowly developing the voice, where
Mhm.
a great cry to womankind is going to go out anytime soon. To somehow shake free the rising potential within us all.
Yes.
And we do not know what that is because we've never had to reach that bandwidth.
Yes.
That's where I am in this moment.
I'm so glad that's where you are. This was all divinely orchestrated. For our listeners, you need to know that we had planned to do this interview much earlier. If we had done that, you would
Yeah.
never have seen that video. So,
No, 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 no.
so from that perspective, um, what would you say to us about conscious conception? Because I feel like it can go beyond
Yeah.
just conception of a baby. It's like it may have to
Yes.
move
Yes, yes.
into bigger.
Yes. Well, again, like many of us on the call, we've probably picked up our Anna, Grandmother of Jesus book
Mhm.
by Claire Hartsong. Excellent work, Claire. I
Yes.
recommend it to everybody.
Mhm.
And the ladies in her book, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, the Marthas, and other Marys, were consciously conceiving as part of this mystical early Christianity,
Yes.
where they faced a very similar, I feel,
Mhm.
foreign, invading foreign power.
Yes.
We are in the same position.
Yeah.
And we might have been reading Anna, grandmother of Jesus, and say to ourselves, wow, this is amazing channeled material, and sort of put it on the fantasy pile.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm like, hey, let's just take that book right back now.
Yes.
And let's not put it in the fantasy pile. Let's put it in the reality. I truly and sincerely need to remember how to do this pile.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
for us to perhaps even start there.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I can recall, there was a deepening into a sacred space.
Mm-hmm.
They did this in the pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
They did this inside a mountain, Mount Bugarash, just down the road, actually. So there was a profound opening of the womb, of the woman's subtle anatomy,
Mm-hmm.
of her deepest meridians, nadis, and chakras, heart, spirit, psychology, to the sacred space, to enlarge her womb, to envelop the whole of that sacred space, and to call upon, whether we want to call it the Most High or the Divine Father or the Beloved, to inseminate the womb of that Mary or that Martha
Mm-hmm.
for what is needed on earth at this time.
Yes.
And these Marys and these Marthas did not question whether this is true or not.
Exactly.
Doubt did not enter the arena, because we all know where doubt, confusion, mistrust, diversion, we all know where that comes from.
Yes.
And it's not the one that we're calling upon for conception.
Right. Wow.
I just want to say, because I'm saying it to myself, we truly, in all truest earnestness and grounded humility, are being called to do this again.
Yes.
For juicy, organic, palpable, furry, fluffy, scaly reasons, for all life on this planet, just like those Marys, just like those Marthas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. So when we're called like that, what shows up for you, Althea, when you go deep like that, or have you gone deep yet?
Not yet, because I'm still in the wrecking ball phase.
Okay. Okay.
Tonight, perhaps, tonight I'm getting close to put out a prayer.
Yeah.
And so it would begin, I'm just going to do an ABC. It would begin with a very restful body
Mm-hmm.
and a sweep across the womb, a sweep a sweep across the womb to just see how comfortable, healthy, clean
Mm-hmm.
she senses herself to be.
Yeah.
And if there's any clutter in there, any awkwardness, guilt, or shame, I would attend to that first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would look to breathe into that space, to really bring upon a deep somatic surrender.
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing that to an energetic eye, it probably looks like a matrix,
Mm-hmm.
a vortex, a portal, a Milky Way, a galaxy, a galactic arm, one of those swirly galaxy arms.
Mm-hmm.
And that I would spend some time being with the womb like that rather than an organ.
Right.
And then I would put out a prayer to the Most High, feeling deep empathy for the planet Earth and all inhabitants on her at this time, and say something like, please drop within me the sacred seed that is just right for this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would leave it alone. I wouldn't even try to figure out what this is.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
the mind and its inquiry is not required in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
All that's required is that created meets creator,
Mm-hmm.
and she brings a little bit of heaven to earth.
Yes, absolutely. So, and the idea that many women, after hearing you speak, will do that, that is what we need. That
I
is
hope
what's
so.
necessary right now.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, so speak to us a little bit about what you mean by sacred language. What is that and how would it show up for us?
Sacred language is getting back to when we say mother tongue, we go, oh, right, that must be English, that must be French, that must be German. Hey, mother tongue. What's our mother tongue? It's the tongue of the mother.
Mhm.
It's her language. And it's
Exactly.
not English, French, or German.
Mm-mm.
And again, the surrender piece,
Mhm.
because we're going to be surrendering probably things like pride,
Mhm.
ego, what do I look like? What do I sound like?
Mhm.
Because it's going to be a new language.
Yeah.
And we are hardwired to speak our earthly language.
Yes,
So
we
again, it's like handing over the womb to the
are.
Most High, which can be seen as a father figure.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now we got to hand over the voice to
Yeah.
the mother.
Yeah.
One of the things I've always hoped I would one day be called to do is to speak in tongues.
Mhm.
To really hand over myself to the Holy Spirit and say, go for it.
Right?
I've never been in a community. I don't want to do it by myself. I want to be in a community.
Mhm. Mhm.
I want to be in a gospel church when that one happens.
Right?
So I haven't had that experience
Mhm.
of what I'm calling everyone forth to do. So I'm a little bit inauthentic in this moment, but I have the longing, I
Mhm.
have the
Mhm.
desire, and I have the yes.
Yeah.
I
There are
do.
actually people that have done that on this in this literal summit. So,
Wow.
yeah. So the fact that you're speaking into it is no accident.
Oh, bravo, whoever that was or is, or many. Good job, friends. Good job. The voice, and this immaculate conception of the womb is hand in hand. The
Yes.
voice is the summoning. The
Mhm.
voice is the calling in for it to happen.
Mhm.
And that might sound very odd. It might be guttural sounds, it might be deep sighs, it might be a whole language that just sort of rolls off the tongue.
Mhm.
But it's your mother tongue. I want to say that again. It's your mother tongue. Your mother tongue.
Yes.
From the great, 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 great mother.
Mhm.
How do we speak to her? How does she speak to us?
Mhm. And bringing through those kinds of languages shifts
Mm,
the vibration of the planet. So
mm.
it's healing beyond what we can understand with our minds.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
For sure.
I was listening to JP Sears this
Mhm.
morning. Yay, we all
I
love
love
JP.
him. Yeah.
He said something very fascinating today.
Mhm.
He said, folks, do we realize that our intelligence has only been developed to the extent of our education?
Mm.
We've had a cap. There's a cap, there's a ceiling to our intelligence, and perhaps that's the design.
Right? Yeah.
And that there is way more possible than our
Exactly.
current schooling curriculum.
Exactly.
That I would say is the same for the heart, the same for the womb, the same for our language.
Mhm. Yeah.
Our intelligence has been limited.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we pop the lid open and we
Mhm.
open our wombs and open to, just like you say, surrender, um, all kinds of things are possible.
Yes, yes, yes.
Certainly, more insights into our intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could grow.
And our way through this.
Yes. Yes.
because to turn around and fight it is not the answer.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
No, no.
We
That's
had
that's the plan. They hope we will do that.
right. Well,
Yeah.
it's like we've done this once already or a couple of times already. So it's like surely we're going to learn something if we keep if it keeps happening.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
So the womb is a portal. Such a portal. Talk to us about that.
Well, I think I got into contemplating the womb when
Mhm.
I asked myself a question. How and where does the soul come into the body? So if you're a pregnant woman, how does the soul get in? You know, in the yoga traditions, in it, I
Mhm.
was part of Kundalini yoga, we were told something like on the 21st day, the soul comes into the body.
Mhm.
Um, and other systems on the third month,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, and there does seem to be some intelligence around that, but I wouldn't absolutely say it's the 20, but
Mhm.
there is a period. There is a period when the soul comes into the body. And I used to go on deep journeys. Where is that then?
Mhm.
Is it the belly button? Does it go down the throat? Does it creep
Mhm.
in from behind?
Right.
That's when I started to map the seven gates, the seven centers. So from a biological point of view, the sperm and the egg join together, and then they sort of wriggle and disappear into the lining of the deepest, darkest, most nutritious part of the physical womb.
Mhm.
So that makes me think deep
Mhm.
inside the body. Really, it's in the blackness.
Mhm.
So obviously the soul's going to come into that part because that's the egg and sperm that's going to make a body.
Mhm.
And so on my sort of deep shamanic contemplations, I would often find myself passing out as I tried to really penetrate the truth of that region of the body and perhaps being gifted a glimpse, perhaps, of what the soul coming into the egg and sperm looks like.
Mhm.
Um, and it took me, the best place I can say is it took me to the veil. On
Mhm.
one side of the veil is physical matter being created and birthed,
Mhm.
sperm, eggs, blood system. And
Yeah.
on the other side, you got a soul and the invisible world just streaming and teeming that side of the veil.
Mhm.
So that's when I came away with the contemplation. The womb is rubbing right up against the veil that
Yeah.
separates spirit from matter. It is backed onto that veil,
Mhm. I
probably
love that.
enmeshed into it so that it can bring in life, because life's coming from the invisible world,
Mhm.
and where we are as a human being is the visible world.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
I'm sticking with that one, Kathy.
I love it. I love it. I mean, because you know, this must be our geekiness, but I ponder
Yeah.
these things as well. And I teach women, it's a stargate. It's a celestial portal that brings through souls from another dimension to this
Hmm.
dimension. And it acts as uh what I call like the Akashic, the home of the Akashic record inside your body because of all of the information that's stored in the blood.
Yes.
So for you to say, oh, and it backs right up against the veil, that just makes perfect sense to me. That's just like that was a missing piece in my little theory.
Oh,
So
happy to
that's all.
share, my lady. Happy to
Yeah,
share.
yeah, awesome. So do you feel like we can communicate between our wombs? You have a topic
Yes.
in here, womb to womb. What does that look like?
Hmm. Blank, but not blank. Vision. I have vision. Whether I can put this one into word, I don't know. Ah, what I've noticed in my years of experimenting with the body.
Mm-hmm.
It first came to me years ago when I sort of entered this woman's work,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw a lady sat on her bottom on the ground, on the earth, with her knees bent. You can sort of see I've got one bent at the moment, with her knees bent and open,
Mm-hmm.
and just allowing her skirt to fall open, and I could see her underwear.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, being British,
Right.
but and then I realized what she was doing, the deep breath. She was going down
Mm-hmm.
into the earth, and she was very comfortable. I'm doing it now. She was
Mm-hmm.
very comfortable, and she was very open
Mm-hmm.
to her authenticity as woman.
Yes.
Um, then when I got brave enough, like
Mm-hmm.
years later, with my nearest and dearest, with my sisters,
Mm-hmm.
I suggested we do this
Mm-hmm.
face to face.
Ah.
And we don't hold back our
Mm-hmm.
womb energy, but just let it flow freely as if we were sat by ourselves
Mm-hmm.
in our favorite sacred space.
Sure.
And we did that.
Mm-hmm.
The openness of the legs and the closeness of bottom on earth
Mm-hmm.
seemed to ignite a Gnostic wildfire
Yeah.
between us that raged across from one body to another.
Wow.
And all things feminine swelled within us,
Mm-hmm.
is the best way of saying it. But, there are obviously some programs that
Mm-hmm.
say, ladies, don't do that. You're not meant to sit like that.
Right.
You're meant to sit with your legs open.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Perhaps this is the reason why.
Thank you.
We're
Mm-hmm.
meant to have our legs crossed and all
Mm-hmm.
neat and tidy.
Mm-hmm.
What if we just take some time to just relax
Mm-hmm.
and let our womb, reproductive system, second chakra, first chakra,
Mm-hmm.
pelvis, pubic bone, anus, sacrum, let it all relax and sink into its planet.
Yeah. Ah.
It was
Transformation.
quite primal.
I bet.
Yes,
No
yeah,
doubt.
appropriate,
Yeah.
but bloody primal.
Yep. Yep.
And I want
And
to put a flag out for primal as well. I think we need some primal energy in these coming
yes,
days.
that's exactly what I was going to say. Primal is where the energy is, where
Yes,
the push is to do or bring forth whatever it is we need to bring forth. So I think we
yes,
need a lot of primal.
yes, yes.
That's where our because when you were speaking about all of the things that we need to do and how it's so urgent, I
Mm.
feel like many of us are still in the proverbial boiling pot, like the frog, that we
Yep,
don't realize that we're in the pot and we're
yep,
getting hotter and hotter.
yep.
And I feel like when we finally wake up to that, we may need lots of primal
Yes,
to do what we need to do. I mean, you
yes,
may just it's like decorum is just going to fly right out the window,
yep, yep,
and it's going to be necessary to do
yep.
that. So
There,
go ahead.
yes.
You go
I
ahead.
was just going to say some text from a nun, as you do, a couple of centuries ago, said, "Woman's soul is a sanctuary, and she is here to nurture all life. Just the soul, just to let the soul be the soul." And so I guess I must have imagined, beautiful shade, like an umbrella, a beautiful, soft, shady sanctuary. But maybe it's not that at times. Maybe it's more of like a canvas umbrella, that you put up abruptly because a storm is here.
Yeah.
By golly, you're
Mhm.
gonna you're
Mhm.
gonna make sanctuary
Yeah.
with your essence.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
at a certain point, really on the precipice, 1 nanosecond to midnight, I can imagine that all women will discover that sanctuary.
Yeah.
Who I am is a sanctuary to life. And
Exactly.
by golly, I'm about to open.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
The tagline for the first advertising piece that we put out, it says, "From a rumble to a roar." And I think
Mm,
that's exactly what we're going to be experiencing for sure.
yes. Yes.
Um, so I want to just share with our listeners a little bit. If you aren't familiar with Althea, you really need to get familiar with her, because what she shares through storytelling and myth and all of it's exquisite, and it brings through, it keeps our mythical history alive. And so if people want to work with you or learn from you, they just go to your website, and that's where they can, I'm asking, that's where they can find what you're doing right now.
Yes, absolutely. Aletheia,
Mhm.
Pista Sophia, a bit of a long mouthful, but I'm sure there's a link somewhere.
Yeah. And if you, yeah, there is a link on this page. Um, is your website still under Anaya, or is it under
Yes,
your new
that
name?
one's still there and
Okay.
is operating more as an archive of
Okay.
everything that has been.
Okay.
And it's a little redirection to the new website
Okay.
where I can start to build that one up. But the
And
two
that
are
one,
totally connected.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So Aletheia Pista Sophia is the next one, is the other one.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll put that one on there too, so that they have both of them. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if people want to get a hold of you, that's what they can do to get a hold of you. If you had
Yes.
parting thoughts for our listeners, what would you want to leave them with? We've kind of been all over the place with the womb, but
Mm.
what do you want to say to them? It's like, what do you want them to remember?
Well, I would say the reason I'm so impassioned by myth and legend and stories is because it takes us inside
Mhm.
with great vigor and passion.
Mhm.
And my parting shot would be to bring more content and stability to our inner self.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if we're meditating for half an hour, make it 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If we're journaling for about 15 minutes just before bed, let's make it half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Let's up the ante
Yeah.
in the profound, deep dependability and being able to turn inward for wisdom, for resources at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's going to be necessary for the future,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
Mm.
And I would also say, if you have to make an important decision, come away from the crowd.
Yes.
Be
Yeah.
in your sovereign state
Yeah.
as you contemplate it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Friend, thank you. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you so much for what you've brought to us. Thank you for having to reschedule. This has been amazing. And I
Thank
truly, truly, truly feel blessed to have been um, listening at your feet today.
Well, likewise with you, Kathy. It's always an amazing rapport, always.
Always.